Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hat Trick Sports Talk NFL Draft coverage. We just did our Instagram live stream. So if you didn't catch that, we're going to be back on tomorrow. Instagram on our UWave Radio page at UWave Radio. But here we are, post-show. We got Shane Hansen. We got Brannan, Widdis. We got me, Robert Szolosi. Let's get to it. First round, post-show, Hat Trick Sports Talk. Let's get started. Let me share my screen as we go through every
Robert, you didn't
selection.
pronounce Brannan's name correctly.
Did I not? How do you say your last name, Brannan? I always get confused with it.
Widdis.
Widdis?
Widdis.
Widdis, okay.
Yeah. Man, it's fine.
All right, here we go. First, biggest surprise of the first round. What is it for you guys?
Jordan Love.
Yeah. Well, I think actually I would argue that it's not for me it would be the Florida quarterback at number 9.
Let's start with Jordan Love, right? So
Jordan Love's pretty big as well.
Jordan Love gets selected to the Green Bay Packers.
And it's not even a situation where it was like they just happened upon him. They like aggressively traded up to get him.
Yeah. But it's not only that. What is the future for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay?
I think he's going to be – it's like a Brett Favre case, you know, or obviously it is. But honestly, I feel like after a year maybe, Rodgers might just leave and go somewhere else and try and get a ring, you know?
Yeah.
I think this pick is dumb because not only – I mean, yes, it's a good pick in quarterback-wise for the team, but I think it's dumb because they easily could have gotten themselves a wide receiver or a running back or somebody to help Aaron Rodgers. So now you have a new young quarterback coming in, a pissed-off Aaron Rodgers, who we all know is a diva when he doesn't get his coach. So, like, it's not great.
Yeah. The whole diva thing, I think you're right, Brandon. I think I'm going to stop sharing a little bit. But I think the whole diva thing is correct. I think simply put, it's one of those things where he's just not going to be happy that you get him a receiver, for example, or, some other talent that would have helped him. And I think very simply that was a huge problem for him.
I wonder if Rodgers is going to say anything like on social media or something the next coming days.
Oh, I think he's going to be – I think internally he's pissed off.
He is, absolutely.
Yeah. I would think so,
but
too.
I
But
think
not
he's going to put out a statement, and I think it's going to be really easy to read if he, through the statement.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that I think we all know that receiver was their biggest need. I mean, they had so many issues at receiver. And granted, you can still get some great receivers on day 2. But at the same time, I just don't feel like it makes any sense to – I don't know. I just feel like they knew they really need receiver, but they were like, we're just going to get our future now. And I wonder if the move with the new coaching staff was to get a new quarterback instead of keeping Aaron Rodgers around. I wonder if the coaching staff, they sat there and they said, this is the perfect year to finally get the replacement, get the future, especially when the coaching staff with Matt LaFleur comes from a quarterback coaching tree as well.
Yeah.
So here's something also to think about. Jordan Love is the first skill position the Packers have taken in the first round since 2005, which was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So they have not taken a skill position since Aaron Rodgers in the first round.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. I think you have 2 more years of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I don't think Jordan Love starts in year 1. And then I think we
No.
see
Yeah. I also feel like a little bit that this was a result of, let's be honest, less than great play by Rodgers last year.
it wasn't that great, but it has to be based off the fact they didn't have receivers, not based on the simple fact that they had nobody to work with.
Well, and also, I mean, Rodgers is. I mean, he's an amazing player, obviously, but he's not really a team player. He's kind of, or I mean,
Yeah, he's
he
kind of
is, but
on
he's
his
not
own
like
a bit.
he's not the kind of leader you want in a quarterback. He's kind of arrogant. He's
Yeah.
he's real cool and just kind of like. I mean, I've told you guys about the time I met him. I
Save that
talked
for
to the guy for 30 seconds.
save that for a
So
U-Wave.
that's the kind of people he puts out there.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will
right,
say, in defense of Aaron Rodgers, to just the last thing, they never have drafted him a top tier talent at wide receiver or tight end or defense.
No, they
or
really
running back
haven't.
in the first round. They haven't given him anything to work with, and he still managed to manufacture them a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you mentioned as a surprise, Brandon, C.J. Henderson out of Florida going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, correct?
Well, I think we both agreed on that, Robert. Like, it was pretty high. Like, it was a surprise at the time, but it was a surprise at the time. But I think it was a pretty solid. I think it was a solid pick,
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was a solid selection. It was a little bit early. I feel like the Jags could have traded down. But I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a solid selection, and I didn't really have too much of an issue with that at all, in fairness. I thought it was, other than the fact it was a bit high,
neither.
Even though it was a bit high, I still was pretty good with it.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to mention this as one of my biggest surprises: Henry Ruggs going to the Raiders. We thought it would be CeeDee Lamb pretty easily. I don't think anyone here had Ruggs as the number 1 receiver coming off the board. How much of a shock was that to you guys?
I think the Raiders took the worst out of the 4 top wide receivers. I think they should have taken someone. I think they could have taken someone like Jerry Jeudy or, hell, all these different players. But who knows? It was a pretty big shock. What do you think,
Yeah,
Shane?
I mean, I was expecting them to get a receiver, but Henry Ruggs, I was a bit surprised. I would have gone probably with Jerry Jeudy.
Mm-hmm. I think, Robert, I said something when they drafted him that they go for big, flashy players.
They do.
Absolutely. The combination of Mayock and Gruden go for flashy players, which it's not gonna work out for their favor of trying to build a team off of draft picks going for the flashy guy, which comes back to the Seahawks a little bit because the Seahawks don't go for the flashy guy. They go for the guy who's malleable, who has the quick decision, has the natural skills and natural mechanics. Big name guy,
Yeah, I will. We'll get to the Seahawks next. Actually, now that you brought that up, but with Henry Ruggs, it's like with Mayock and Gruden. Remember Cleveland Farrell last year, right?
Yeah.
He was taken at number 4, and people were like, "What? He could have been taken at 15." Like, they take who they want, and yes, it's more than likely a flashy player, but they take what they want, and they don't they don't care what anyone else says. They just take what they want, and they don't care what people think about it.
Yeah.
And then moving with the Seahawks as well. Them taking Jordan Brooks, it can be said the same thing. It's just as you said on the IG Live, it's like it's the system fit thing. And it might not be the most perfect pick. We had him pegged as a second, third round guy, but it's kind of what they just take who they want to take, and they don't care what other people think.
He's like he's like the Wagner.
Yeah.
Type,
I mean, we didn't know who Bobby Wagner was, or a lot of people didn't know that name when he got picked. Like, it's not like an Earl Thomas who people knew, or people didn't know Cam Chancellor when he was picked. I mean, hell, remember, like, you get a lot of our most successful drafts were given like Fs and Ds, and like
Sherman.
These players ended up being amazing. Yeah. I mean, my thing is a player that the Seahawks look for. And the thing that at first I was like kind of pissed off because obviously I wanted McKinney. But if you look at the player, he has the body type of Wagner. He's fast. He can go. I saw a video of him being able to going sideline to sideline and making a sack before the quarterback was able to get across the line of scrimmage. I think he ran a 4.57 40. And he has natural tackling ability. He makes quick decisions. He doesn't think about it too long. And he goes downfield and hits. I mean, it's basically all the things that were missing from the Seahawks that were there during the heyday of the Leader Boom. I mean,
they're trying to sort of get that sort of style back, just with less talking, basically.
Yeah.
And then let's get to Xavier McKinney, a player that, we were clamoring like, oh my God, we get the Seahawks to take Xavier McKinney because he was just falling. And lo and behold, he's the top player available as we head into the second round. And you said during our IG live stream, Brandon, that there has to be something wrong with him for him not to go in the first.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that there was not any conversation going on in the ESPN commentary on it because no one was saying anything about the fact that he was like, he fell out of the first round. Like,
yeah, he should have been top 15.
No one seems surprised. I looked at a bunch of articles. One of them said he was supposed to go to the 49ers at 13. One of them said he was supposed to go to the Cowboys. I mean, is there something wrong with him? Is he hurt? Does he have did something happen at the combine with him talking to people? I mean, I wonder if there was like an attitude issue that was found at the combine.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that would have come out earlier from Schefter or Ian Rappaport or something. But not only that, I wonder if realistically teams don't want to get a safety. Maybe teams are pretty comfortable with their safety position, or they feel like the class is pretty deep. Right. I think most teams later in the round need it. I mean,
there are a lot of teams that could use one.
There are a lot of teams that can use one.
We have a chance of possibly still getting to him. Did the Seahawks try and take someone like J.K. Dobbins?
I don't think the Seahawks are going to take a running back. That'd be crazy.
I mean, Schefter tweeted 20 minutes ago, players left for Friday night include DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, Michael Pittman Jr., T. Higgins. I mean, you got Cleveland, you got Blacklock, AJ Espinoza, Epensa, Gross Matos. You got Trayvon Diggs, Xavier McKinney. I mean, you got a lot of high caliber players left.
You got a lot of first round talent players left.
It honestly shows how deep this draft was. On the defensive side.
Kind of an anomaly.
Like, literally, this is a deep ass draft. It's insane.
It is.
Which leads me to ask the question once again: why did the Packers move up to take Jordan Love? I mean,
What other team was going to move up to take
the man would have
him?
been left. No one.
Who was going to take him? Like, legitimately.
I mean,
The Seahawks weren't going to take him. The Ravens weren't going to take him. The Titans weren't. Like, no team here was going to.
They could have easily traded up in the second round tomorrow night and gotten him.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sure Cincinnati would have been thrilled to get more picks.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm, you know why I think Seattle would target McKinney? Because that man is going to have a big old chip on his shoulder, and the Seahawks love players with chips on their shoulder.
For sure. All right, so let's move on let's actually talk about the quarterbacks that were selected other than Jordan Love. We got Tua going to the Dolphins at 5, Herbert going after him at 6, and then, and then, of course, Joe Burrow at number 1. Now, we knew Joe Burrow at number 1. We had a lot of thoughts about where Tua was going to go, and he seemed to go all over the map. But he went right where everyone thought he was going to be at the start of this process, number 5 to Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, he himself had been saying for months that, just stuff like, oh, I can see myself there and get it. Yeah, whatever. So, I mean, I really wasn't surprised at all when they took him, to be honest. And then same thing with LA taking Herbert. I wasn't surprised at all. I figured they would. I thought maybe Miami would take Herbert because they did say that they would be happy with Herbert as well. Yeah. And then, with all the injury stuff, I was like, maybe, but yeah.
Especially with the quarterbacks in this class, there was a lot of smoke screens, man, in terms of reports. I mean, there was reports about, oh my God, like even this morning, there were reports that Tua could go number 9 to the Jaguars. I mean, he was all over the place, and he fell at the spot that everyone thought he was going to at the beginning. And then Herbert, obviously, they like Tyrod Taylor. I don't think Tyrod Taylor starts week 1 if we have a full season now. I want to see Herbert out there right away.
I don't think he's ready to go right away, dude. I think he goes out there, he throws like 4 interceptions at most.
I want to see him sit
The
here.
man is not ready. I don't think, honestly, frankly, if you have a situation like Tyrod Taylor as your quarterback, who is easily could get you an 8-8 season, or maybe even a 9-7 season, and slip your way into the playoffs, you let the man get used to the NFL. I hate when teams draft quarterbacks and don't give them the opportunity, if they have it, the situation there, to get adjusted. Because then, you know what happens? Players get kicked to the curb because guess what? You have a quarterback who hasn't been able to adjust to the system, adjust to the faster pace. And as much as I don't like Herbert, I still think it's unfair to not let the man have the best opportunity to show what he can do.
I still feel like he's better right now than Tyrod Taylor, though.
Yeah, but
I feel like the best chance for him to develop is to play him. Would you say the same thing for Joe Burrow at number 1?
Well, who's Cincy have?
They still have Dalton. Dalton hasn't been moved.
They're not going to play Dalton. He'd get booed. They're going to boot. The fans are going to be like, no, we don't want any more of this nonsense.
I think I don't want to see Tua play this year. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick. I want him to learn from him and all that. Kind of have Fitzpatrick as a bridge guy. Same with Tyrod Taylor, bridge guy for like 1 year with, Herbert. And then Jordan Love obviously won't play for a year or two. But, Burrow, I mean, I don't know. I'm worried about that guy, to be honest. You got, he's in.
So here's something interesting.
Yeah.
I just saw a tweet that Jason Lockenfora liked. This is coming from a guy who follows the Seahawks. He thinks that Queen was third on the Seahawks linebacker behind Murray and Brooks on their board, which kind of would fit with the whole narrative about the Seahawks drafting for like fit and player type, you know.
I do want to talk about the linebackers in this class as a whole, though. Speaking of which, I really liked Patrick Queen as we got later and later in this process, and I think we can all agree he went to the right fit in the Baltimore, but. And then Kenneth Murray going to the Chargers as well. I mean, I had them flipped, but do you feel like the linebacker was one of those positions that, at least with these three, Murray, Queen, and Brooks, I think, was there a case that they were kind of flip-flopped everywhere? Or even let's just go Murray and Queen. Do you think teams had them kind of flip-flopped? Because I thought they were very similar, Murray and Queen, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just all kind of depended on, who needed players and who all worked in certain teams' schemes and whatnot. More than anything, because I mean, like you said, they all have their different pros and cons. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, apparently, I feel like there's a lot of things that we're not thinking about. Like, did the Seahawks have conversations with players within their organization when thinking about the fact that Brooks Bobby Wagner is a big inspiration to Brooks. Like he looks up to him. He's like on a pedestal to him. So to me, what that tells me is this is going to be a guy who's going to be able to easily learn from Bobby Wagner.
Are you still trying to convince yourself that that was the right pick?
No, I'm putting out all the reasons in the world why I think it was the right pick. Because frankly, I think he looks exactly like Bobby Wagner. I think in terms of the play style, go and watch any footage that you can find of this guy online. He plays exactly like Bobby Wagner. I think a lot of people are going to have problems with the pick, and a lot of people do have problems with the pick. But
I still have problems with the pick. I don't like it. Still.
I mean, why? I mean, it's the same crap that we get every
was
year.
Better.
It's the same. It doesn't matter if he's better. It matters who's going to fit the best. In the team.
I will say I do think Brooks fits better than Queen by a mile, but I wish they had gone with the secondary first. For me, it's not a matter of which linebacker. For me, it's not a matter of which linebacker they took. I just wish that they had gone with someone from the secondary first, like an Xavier McKinney or whatever, because that is where the bigger concern is, at least for me. So,
all right.
I mean,
so
they should have probably traded down because if they could have read the situation, traded down, get more picks, get both of them with more picks. That would have been the best play.
All right, so let's talk about, before we talk about the best pick in the draft for you guys, let's talk about two interesting picks. One, Andrew Thomas to the Giants. The Giants are always going out of the box with a lot of their picks, and they did that here with Andrew Thomas, who I had as my number one offensive lineman throughout this whole process. What do you guys think about that selection over a guy like Isaiah Simmons, who we'll get to next?
Well, I thought that tackle was the clear move for them to do. I wasn't expecting it to be Andrew Thomas. In my head, I was thinking, they'll get
Wills,
Jedrick Wills, right, or Wirfs, or even I don't know, like
Cleveland.
Yeah, but not Thomas. That was interesting to me. But still, I'm glad that they went O-line. I think that's where they need the most work, without a doubt. So,
yeah, over the years I've come to stop trying to overthink it when teams take linemen because the thing with linemen is there's such small difference between one lineman and another, and it's such a small difference that like as long as the difference there isn't something that's like physically ingrained in their motion on the line or like in how they go through their like blocking, it can be taught. It can be changed. So to me, it doesn't matter if it's one person to another. To me, it's like, is this person faster than the other? Does this guy like? Freaking, I don't know why they didn't take the guy from Louisville.
Yeah, Becton, Mekhi Becton.
To me, Becton was the best lineman out there because of the fact that he was faster than everyone.
And he was stronger.
Because he
moved,
he's the stronger
he was strong.
Player. I would take him. If I had the fourth pick of the draft and he's there, I'm taking him.
So we're talking about the SEC talent, right? With Clyde Edwards-Helaire being taken with the last pick, they set an NFL draft record with, let me see this, 15 SEC players. 15 SEC players were taken in the first round of this class, an NFL record. And
wow.
listen, and here's my point. Andrew Thomas, coming into this year and last year, we were like, he's the best prospect in the offensive line. Because when you're playing guys like LSU, Alabama, you're playing some really, really talented defensive players, and he was able to be the best offensive lineman in the SEC. And so that, for me, made it clear that he was the number one guy. He was the number one guy, like, week one of the season. And then a lot of things shifted because of the combine and all that stuff, and I think the lack of pro days also affected that. But I love the Andrew Thomas pick for the Giants. It's not what I would have done, but it's a good pick. Now, Shane, you love this pick, and I think we all love this pick, but you came on IG today and said you really, really enjoyed this pick. Isaiah Simmons of the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite pick in this first round.
That's a pick I wish the Seahawks had made.
Which
is ironic because
I was surprised that he went this late, to be honest. But once they got to the Cardinals and he hadn't been picked yet, I was like, they got to be going with him. I just thought there's no way not him. And
I think the Seahawks need to. I love the pick.
Yeah.
Because it instantly puts pressure on every team they play.
Yeah.
It puts pressure on every team in the NFC West to go out and find someone at center who can stop, who can protect the quarterback. I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, we've been saying that Arizona is a couple years away from being pretty competitive, and the one thing that they need to improve is their defense. And you get a guy like this who's, he's such a well-rounded defensive player. I just think, and then complement that with the fact that they are already making great moves on offense. Yeah, great.
On top of that too,
I think they may have brought their time away from being competitive down like a year with that pick.
Yeah.
With both
and
the
not
picks
only
they made in
that,
the first round.
The money backer role for the Cardinals is what they love. They love a guy like Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they do defensively. A guy who can play safety, a guy who can play linebacker. He's the most versatile player in this class.
Yeah.
And for the Cardinals to get him, just amazing. Besides the Seahawks, Brandon, what is your favorite pick in this class?
Becton.
Becton to the Jets.
Yep. I think Becton to the Jets because for so long people kind of have crapped on the Jets for taking dumb moves and dumb risks and just taking players that seem like they have no place. And honestly, like last year, I found myself a lot watching Jets games and yelling at them because they had no O-line presence. And I love this because it's a guy who's strong and can move.
Yeah.
He has the ability. He doesn't look like – I said this to Robert when the pick happened. He doesn't look like a lineman. He played basketball, so he has hands. So he gives you the option to create plays if you want to have people come in as an eligible receiver if you wanted to, let's say.
Right.
But I think it's in his primary position. I think the pick as a lineman is great because it is starting to do, and it's starting to show the fan base that you are committed to protecting your quarterback, and also, as Robert and I talked about, you are giving a blocker for your running back.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell. Shane, speak on that piece.
Yeah.
Getting a big-time blocker for Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting, is the fact that they have this great running back talent who they need to find a way to kind of utilize him, and I think that they will. I think that they're kind of starting to, figure things out and get kind of a stride there. And, because, yes, Darnold needs protection big time, but so does your running back. I mean, especially for a guy like him who is maybe past his prime, probably. So, that's a huge piece as well, especially if you're going to want him especially if you're going to want him to, run outside the tackles. That's a big thing as well, just so that you can get past the line. And so, yeah.
Also, let's not forget about the fact that the Jets took George Fant from the Seahawks this offseason as well. So they now have two big guys who both played basketball, both are quick on their feet, both have the ability to come in as eligible receivers if they want to. George Fant needs to be given more credit than he's given. He, towards the end of his time with the Seahawks, he became one of our best linemen. So
yeah, he wasn't great at first, but he really came into his own.
Yeah.
Later on, yeah.
And
let's
honestly,
talk about another NFC West team.
Becton to me is someone that I would have loved the Seahawks to have. They could have, but
let's talk about another NFC West team, the Niners. Now, I do want to talk about the Niners in specific because they were probably the weirdest team in this draft. At 14, they didn't take a receiver. They didn't take Judy or Lamb. They took Javon Kinlaw. A big reason they took Javon Kinlaw is because they traded DeForest Buckner for cap reasons to get the Colts pick, and they traded with the Bucks. They moved back a spot. The Bucks took Tristan Wirfs, which we'll get to. But they take Kinlaw. Then they take Brandon Ayuk. They needed a receiver. I think Brandon Ayuk is actually a perfect fit there. And yeah, so Brandon Ayuk and Javon Kinlaw, excuse me. What were your thoughts on what the Niners did tonight?
I think it was interesting. As you know, Robert, I wasn't totally a fan of taking the defensive guy because I'm like, you basically just traded away. I mean, for cap reason, you traded away one of the best defensive players in the game, and you're trying to trade away your other great defensive players on your team, and you're replacing it with a young guy who doesn't have experience in the NFL. And I think at the end of the day, that's what people forget about. You can't replace experience in the NFL. But I think I was a big fan of their second pick in the first round because you never come across players with, what was it, like an 81? No, not an 81 foot. 81 wingspan. Like the only other player who had that wingspan big, larger than that at wide receiver, I believe they said was
LeBron James or
LeBron James.
Basically, they said there was only one other wide receiver.
Am I wrong?
Who had like a wider wingspan.
It wouldn't be a draft post show without mentioning LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I don't love that they have this dude who can just like outreach any corner, but like, it is what it is. I think the Seahawks are gonna. I think the Seahawks are gonna go ham like they usually do in the second round and the third
Yeah.
round. But
Shane, with the
it's funny the
Niners
way I
taking Kinlaw, go ahead, Brandon. Finish what you're doing.
I was just gonna say the way I see the Seahawks when they approach the draft is if they get someone in the first round, they're like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But then they're like hunting their prey in the second and third round, waiting for the good stuff to show up.
It is kind of true. Okay, so Shane, speaking on Javon Kinlaw specifically, the Niners with this coaching staff and the GM John Lynch, Shanahan as the coach, they're so focused on getting defensive linemen. They love drafting and developing defensive linemen. This from the first time they got together in their first draft.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how basically a huge reason why they got to a Super Bowl. But do you really believe that was the right selection at that spot, or would have they been better suited to take a receiver like Judy or Lamb?
I think before they get anyone from the front seven on defense, they need a safety or a corner. To me, at least.
Yeah.
I think that's where the priority has to be for their defense, because that was the one aspect of their defense besides Sherman that was kind of lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was what I would have done, and I figured they would get either, someone from a DB or else a receiver in that 14th pick. And so, yeah, like you said, I was expecting a like Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, something like that. And then he said Javon Kinlaw, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I get that you got to kind of fill that hole from them, but I don't know. It's just strange to me. And then later on in the first round, they get stuck with or not stuck, but they get a receiver that's not quite as good as those other guys. So
I think we had a small audio mishap there. Sorry.
Oh, did you catch everything?
I don't know. Are we good, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why we have small audio issues here.
Are you not hearing me?
Can you guys talk really quick?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Testing.
I don't know why that just randomly happened. That is so bizarre.
Well,
here, can you guys back out and back in again?
Sure.
For the third time tonight. We've had some technical issues with Zoom like all night. Yeah, so before they hop back in, sorry, we had some technical issues on there. But yeah, so I think with the Niners, simply put, it's one of those things where they're just so big on the defensive line, and they're one of those teams that always kind of puts themselves in a position to go after the defensive lineman. I don't know why Zoom is being glitchy tonight. I sincerely apologize. Shane is back in. Sorry, the meeting was locked for a bit there. Shane, can you guys hear me now? Are we good?
Hey.
Hello?
Oh.
Are we good, guys?
Yeah.
I can't hear you guys at all. I don't know if it's an audio thing on my end. Let me switch.
Yeah, it's definitely on your end.
Yeah.
That is definitely on my end. Jesus Louises, what is happening?
I can hear you both loud and clear.
I don't know why that's on my end. That's amazing.
Wait, can you hear me, Robert?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to my speakers. There we go. I think we're good. Sorry about that. We're having technical difficulties tonight. Well, hey, I guess since the NFL draft didn't have issues, I guess we should have issues.
Yeah. I mean, it's late, It's understandable.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right. So we talked about the Niners. Let's get to the team before then. The team before them was the Bucks, and they took Tristan Wirfs. How does that impact Tom Brady, them trying to get an offensive lineman with that selection?
I think it's great, especially considering that he's, he can be kind of a blindside tackle. So, that's. I mean, I think they got something pretty good going on there with all the people that they've gotten in free agency. Obviously, Brady and Gronk, and yeah, I mean, like you said, the thing that they need to do is just keep building that offensive line. And so, yeah, right when they were about to announce their pick, I just said out loud, I was like, it's going to be Tristan Wirfs. And then sure enough, it was him. And I was like, yes, nice. So, yeah, I really like this pick for them, without a doubt. I think it's their offensive line is what they, it should be their first priority when you got a 42-year-old quarterback who can't move.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they didn't. I mean, I don't know how many picks they had this draft. I mean, was it only one or?
They had one pick, yeah.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they go crazy on linemen.
Yeah.
And here's the thought: what do you think? Do you think they would go and try and get themselves a backup quarterback that could be the starter in the future once Brady retires?
Yeah, I think they would do it later though. I don't think they would do it right away.
I'm thinking maybe third,
I don't think in the
fourth
second round they're gonna take one. I really don't think so.
Because the thought just popped up in my mind. What if they take Jacob Eason in like the fifth round?
That would be a fun
and have him be tutored by Brady for 2 or 3 years, and then boom, you have this guy who has a great arm, great knowledge for the game, has been tutored by possibly the GOAT of all time as a quarterback, and it's like, bam, guess what? Now we have like a god tier hunk of a quarterback. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing about Eason. He, his skills are all there.
Yeah.
It's just his decision making. That's his weakness.
And to have someone like Brady like giving you his knowledge,
Yeah, the greatest quarterback mind in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I just keep thinking, if I was the GM, this is what I'd be doing. It's so obvious.
It's a possibility.
I mean, nobody else is going to take him.
I think you could look at it in the third or fourth round. I don't think in the second, but I think later round.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so the Saints. Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan, the center. We're going kind of towards the end of the first round. I know that the Saints develop their offensive linemen and they do a good job with it, developing their offensive line, but I still don't really get this pick necessarily because I don't think Drew Brees needs better protection as much as they would probably want to maybe develop their defense a little bit more or maybe get some receiver, maybe tight end help. No tight ends went off the board in this first round. It's not necessarily that it's the worst pick in the world. It's just I don't know how it really fits necessarily.
This felt like a pick for the future.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a pick for the future. Like, let's get a solid. They got the best interior lineman in the draft. He is really good at the center. He holds up the pocket well. He gives the quarterback lots of time to just hang out. So in my mind, what it is to me is it's they're like, let's get a quarterback to give what's-his-face time in the pocket once Brady retires.
You mean Breeze?
Once Breeze retires. Because we all know that the guy they have is not going to be as good as Breeze. So he's going to need more time in the pocket. That's just my thinking.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't go with like a tight end or a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like he's a bad guy to have around for sure, but going for the first round, I mean, you'd want to get the best guy for a certain priority. And to me, this just doesn't seem like, that type of guy that they just absolutely need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
Any other picks that you guys want to discuss in particular?
I think we've gone over all the major picks of the draft. I think after the Seahawks picked, everything else was pretty much just
I was
kind of
surprised with the run on corners like Noah Igohidbo, I think is the guy's name. I can't really say his
yeah.
name. Jeff Gladley over Trayvon Diggs. I'm not sure how I really feel about that. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I was surprised by who was the first running back to go.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Like the fact that he went, but not arguably the best running back in the draft.
especially
Could have taken
KC.
DeAndre Swift or Taylor, and I would have been happier.
Or J.K. Dobbins. I mean, like, how are you not gonna take any of the like name guys? Like, you're gonna take this dude?
Now, Shane, you might have a better sense of Hilaire than most in this group, especially considering how LSU was last year. What was your impression of Hilaire as a prospect coming out?
I mean, I honestly wasn't really thinking about him that much. Just because, when you think of LSU last year, this guy is not who comes to mind.
Right.
Let's just be honest. You think about their past game, that defense, all this stuff. I was thinking that they would get. I mean, first of all, I can't believe the Chiefs went for a running back,
Yeah.
especially in the first round. But second of all, the fact that it's him over. I mean, not that he's bad, but like, Swift,
Yeah.
Taylor were clearly better to me. But I mean, I don't know what their plans are with this guy. It's probably just another one of those, picks for the future, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I honestly felt like the Chiefs' number one need was running back. But I'll also say this. With Hilaire, did it really matter what the Chiefs took at running back? Did it really matter that it was Swift, Dobbins, Taylor, or Hilaire? Because any running back, presumably as a rookie, is going to fit in this system easily with Patrick Mahomes, with Tyreek Hill. Are we not so sure that it didn't really matter who they took here and that whoever they take is actually going to be a really good player just because the system is fit for Hilaire in this case to really be successful right away?
When you bring that up, it makes me wonder if we need to go and look at some footage of him and see, is this guy more of a run pass sort of running back, where they can catch the ball in the backfield and go. Because that's what happened with someone like Rashad Penny or a lot of the running backs the Seahawks have drafted, where you can like run it, but they also can catch it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I'm looking at his. That's probably why. Yeah. I'm looking at his receiving stats right now. Last year, he had 55 receptions.
Yep, there you go. The moment you said like a team with a guy like a quarterback like they have, I mean, I was like, well, okay, let's think about the fact that they didn't run it all that much. You're gonna want to try and put another receiver out there.
A pass catching back.
So yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Too. It's the same thing the Seahawks do. They get pass catching backs that can run.
55 catches, 453 yards, and a touchdown.
I still think
wow,
he's a pretty good runner too.
We're detectives tonight. Sports detectives.
Sports detectives on UA Radio.
Oh my god, that's a new Netflix show right there.
What did he say?
Sports detectives. All right, I think that's a good place to end because I'm getting delirious.
Yeah. We
coming up with TV shows.
Here for what? 4 hours?
Since
5?
5.
Oh my goodness. That's why we have technical difficulties towards the end. All right.
I will say this one last thing.
What?
So yesterday, you guys asked me who I thought would be the biggest bust between these 4 quarterbacks,
Okay.
who I thought would be the most successful. Let's do that now that we know where they're going.
Okay.
Most successful is going to be Jordan Love, I think.
Biggest bust, Shane?
Biggest bust. Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with Shane on both. I think Shane and I actually talked about this when Jordan Love got drafted. And the funny thing is, I literally said, Shane can back me up here. I said, we were talking about this, and I was like, when the Packers traded up, I was like, they're going to take Jordan Love. It came to me. It came to me. I was like, they're probably going to take Jordan Love. And then boom, and I was like, I told you. Because like he just, for something about it, just triggered something in me. I was like, he's such a Green Bay type of quarterback. But I think he's going to go there and he'll do pretty well. With Burrow, I think he's going to be a bust because here's the thing. They said a lot of this today. He had a big supporting cast with him in college. He had a lot of great players. He has no one at Cincinnati. No one.
And he's in the AFC North, so 6 times a year he's going to have to go up against Myles Garrett and that beast of a D-line, TJ Watt and that beast of a D-line, and the Ravens D-line, which is all Ravens front 7 as a whole, which is really good.
I forget who it was, but they tweeted out at him already. They were like, "Hey, glad you're in the NFL. We'll have to get acquainted with each other soon." I was like, "You're gonna die."
I'm in agreement with both of you. I really am.
Yeah.
I honestly don't feel like Joe Burrow was the best prospect in this class.
No.
I don't. I didn't have him ranked that high. I really didn't. I think if I remember my rankings correctly, I had my number 1 was Chase Young, who didn't really talk about because we knew he was going to go there. And then I had Isaiah Simmons at 2. I had Jeff Okuda at 3. I think I'm probably at Derek Brown at 4, and then I had Tua at 5.
Yeah, that's about right.
I did not have him that high. And
yeah,
I think with the coaching staff there, I think they're in a spot where they can develop a quarterback because that's kind of what they built their coaching staff around. But at the same time, as you mentioned, Shane, these defensive lines, basically defenses around the AFC North, are going to be really tough for them to handle. And on top of that, we just didn't really see a big season for Burrow until last year, so the tape just really isn't there. But also
until last year when he had the great supporting cast.
And
right.
I would just like to say, if I'm to remember correctly, did we not have a conversation a couple months back about how Heisman winning quarterbacks don't do very well in the NFL? And I said they're usually, what's that? Huh?
They don't normally do well.
They're busts? Oh, that's correct. I did say that.
Overhyped.
Now, I will say I got it wrong with Jordan Love. I'm pretty certain all of me and Robert said that Jordan Love was going to be terrible, and you were the one who was backing him up, Shane. So, yes, I'll give you that one.
I had Jordan Love pegged to the Saints or the Packers or the Patriots.
Yeah.
But I also throw out a wild card. Here's my theory about the Miami Dolphins. They had 3 first-round picks, took 3 pretty good players, and they have the most picks in the next 2 drafts, this draft and one next year. They're in a prime position to build better than the Browns did, because remember, the Browns had a large assortment of picks for a few years now. or
They
not
waste them all.
and they didn't really do a good job with that. But the Dolphins clearly have a better idea of what they want in prospects.
Mhm.
So if Tua does sit out this year and plays next year with this class that's coming in for them this year, and then with the next class that's coming in 2021, and he's going to be ready to play if this is the case, he's in a prime position to do really well.
I mean, the
Yeah.
Dolphins already have a pretty filthy secondary. I mean, their defense is getting pretty filthy, and it's pretty filthy already. I'll leave us with this question that we can talk about tomorrow. I believe the hardest position to be in the draft is to have the number 1 pick.
It is.
And I would just want you guys to think on this and respond tomorrow tomorrow. Do you think it's harder to have the first pick in the draft or the 31st pick in the draft?
32nd?
Or 32nd pick in the draft? That's
definitely a good question. We'll definitely have to think on that.
Because there have literally been years where teams have tried to get rid of the first pick of the draft because it puts them in a position to have to pick one player because everybody's saying they should. And if they don't, then everybody's like, "Oh, that's a terrible pick."
I felt that the Bengals should have taken Chase Young. He's the clear.
No, they should have.
They should have. Let's be honest. They should have. There's no reason why they shouldn't have. But they felt they need to pick Burrow because they talked to him a bunch and they felt like they needed a quarterback. But they could have just traded down and taken Chase Young if they really wanted to.
Yep.
I mean, maybe, because I think the Redskins would have taken him anyway. But they could have taken another top prospect if they just traded down a few.
Well, gentlemen, we have another 2 rounds tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
There'll be plenty of shenanigans to talk about. Yeah. I'm sure players, I'm sure much randomness will happen. Maybe we'll have some technological
difficulties
in the
as
draft.
We did today.
Probably.
I would love to see someone run out of time on the clock and see what happens.
Do you know it's only happened twice in NFL history?
Really?
It happened recently. It happened like in 2014.
Oh, I heard. I think it happened in like 2000 and like some. It happened to a team back-to-back years once.
Wow.
Where they ran out of time on the clock and
what happened?
A team jumped them. Because you know how teams jump them? They jumped them and took the player that they wanted. I forget what it was, but it was like the same team 2 years in a row.
Wow. Jeez.
All right. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Brandon. Great stuff today.
Thank you, Robert.
5 hours worth of NFL draft coverage. We'll be back tomorrow with more really exciting stuff. Thank you for all of you.
It gets a lot towards the end.
We have one more day, guys. One more day, and we can chill.
That's good. I'm chilling.
And we
I'm chilling too.
I like it.
I just need more caffeine during these things because I spend most of my day down here in the basement because trying to avoid the coronavirus, you know.
Yeah. All trying to keep all of us safe. Speaking of which, NFL.com/relief. They're doing a draft-a-thon all weekend. Please go donate to that if you can. They're raising money for COVID-19 relief. And we'll be back tomorrow. Instagram Live at UWave Radio. We are live for all picks, second and third round. And the post show will be on tomorrow. Mixcloud, Spotify. We'll be on YouTube a little bit later. Thank you again, Shane. Thank you again, Brandon. Really appreciate your work today. 5 hours worth of draft coverage on UWave Radio. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Yep, you too.
Great night, everybody. See you all.